You want to hear my predictions for the next 20 years? Yes, 20 years. Having to do with changes, intense, profound changes going on with humanity because of Pluto going into Aquarius. Aquarius is probably the most misunderstood sign, but I'm here to help you because I am your resident Aquarian. Yes, Sun, Mercury, midheaven, and Aquarius. And I'm going to navigate you through how to use this energy to your advantage over the next 20 years. I got some good news and bad news. The good news is that by the time we come out of this transit in 2043, I think humanity at large is going to be a lot more mentally strong, verbally strong, relationally strong. Bad news is, well, what it's going to take to get us there is Pluto's going to demand honesty, authenticity out of us in our thinking, in our communications, and in our relationships. On the way, there's going to be some sober reality checks that are maybe not what we want to hear, not what we want to know, but what we need to hear and what we need to know to rise up into our own inner authority. And those of us who are willing to surrender towards the push, the pressure towards leadership, taking more of a leadership role in our lives and the way that we think, communicate, relate, are probably going to fare better with this transit. Those that fall into the dark shadow side of Aquarius, where they're getting lost in groupthink and they're more followers than leaders, it's going to be a rough ride. Whatever comes out of this, however it comes, the purpose of it is for us to understand our own motives, that of others, and to lead us to more personal empowerment. Pluto is going to profoundly transform how we do relationships. We're coming into this transit right now with a lot of trust issues, intimacy issues, exploitation dynamics in relationships, and Pluto is going to be applying pressure to face those issues head on and transmute them. And I do believe that at the beginning of this transit, as Saturn is going into Aries while Chiron is already in Aries, what we're most immediately going to see is wounded masculines having to work on healing and restoration. This is about how men are showing up in society as protectors and providers. And as that gets healed, as that energy matures through the next couple of years, we're going to see wounded feminines becoming healed as a result. And from there, you see healing within families, which spill over into communities, which spills over into culture, because it's going to be a domino effect. I wouldn't be surprised if over the next 20 years, you see people getting more into epigenetics, which is addressing stored generational memories within the DNA, healing ancestral trauma, and basically people trying to address how do we empower individual freedom without exploiting others. It's a delicate balance. We've got to figure it out as a society. And maybe then we can see less zero-sum games going on in relationships, marriages, families, communities, culture at large. We learn to create more win-win dynamics. We're probably also, in terms of resources, going to see a revolution when it comes to technological innovations. The trick is going to be, how do we use these technologies to assist and serve and empower humanity rather than enslave them? I think we're also going to see a shift with online communities, where I think online communities are going to be leveraged more as a tool for assisting with offline face-to-face communities and connections. We're probably going to see a lot more co-ops and think tanks and things like that emerging. Also, the way that we learn is going to be accelerated partly by, how people learn online as needed, less of a formalized approach, more informal. You're going to see communities of people coming together based on interests, shared interests, and forming like a hive where there's a cross-pollination of information occurring and you're getting exponential growth, whereas in the past it would take you 4 years to get that level of mastery, and maybe even then you still didn't have that level of mastery. Well, with a different way of accessing knowledge and exponentially growing in mastery, you're going to get people who really exceed expectations in previous generations. In workplaces, we're going to see similarly less of this conventional, traditional, top-down pyramid scheme hierarchy, and it's going to shift to more of a lateral or horizontal hierarchy, whereas before it was more vertical, and that enable people to have more agility and collaboration Whereas in the past, there might have been more of an emphasis on authoritarian style chain of command. In the future, we'll have more of an egalitarian system. I think we're also going to see a return to meritocracy and a rejection of DEI. Meritocracy would be giving people advancement based on individual merit, as opposed to an old system where you have a select few deciding which members of groups will get preferential treatment and advancement. And the dark side that we're having to transcend is an inclination towards socialism or communism, which unfortunately a lot of non-Aquarian astrologers like to associate with Aquarius. But remember, we're about individuality, uniqueness. That is something that won't work under socialism and communism. Therefore, I would definitely say if you're trying to transcend, that would be the shadow aspect, where we're not working in a commune per se, where it's a one size fits all, or we have people on the top authority deciding which groups get preferential treatment. You have instead people at an individual level based on merit and their unique contribution. That is what's getting advanced forward. And again, it's how do we advance the group without infringing upon the individual? In terms of humanity, well, I would like to say the stars are in fact falling. I mean, it doesn't take an astrologer to tell you that. You can see it out there, right? But who's going to replace them in the next 20 years? The next celebrities, the celebrities of the future, will be people that are true humanitarians, people that are actually serving a good cause. And I'm not talking about people like Oprah or the Clintons doing humanitarian work out in Haiti. I mean, anybody who dives deep into that knows that was just showtime, right? And there was some shady stuff going on as well. What I'm talking about is something more along the lines of Mr. Beast going out to Africa, digging clean water wells for people and leaving them there to help these people have a sense of sovereignty. Sovereignty is going to be key, especially as we see a rise in populism and a rising disdain for globalism. Even the companies that rise to the top and are getting acclaim and honor and accolades will be companies that are doing some good for humanity. A word of caution though, what it's going to take to get us to all this goodness is a lot of brutal truths coming out. A lot of unsavory disclosures that some people would rather not hear or see. Disclosures will have to do with secret societies, big ag, big med, big pharma, psyops, propaganda, censorship. I could go on, but all of this stuff is going to come out to set the record straight. And the ultimate highest good that this will be used for is to awaken the collective consciousness. We are in the midst of a great awakening. That's, if anyone were to tell you what this is in a nutshell, it is the great awakening. But be aware, this is not going to happen easily or without a fight or a struggle, because this great awakening is putting power back in the hands of the people with Aquarius. Those who have had the power over the previous Pluto transit in Capricorn, namely the government, corporations, people in authority, they don't want to relinquish that power easily. And they will very likely fight to the death. That is what Pluto implies. It's a death rebirth cycle. And they're in their descent. As Aquarius, the people are in their ascent. And so you could see them using similar tactics that they've used in the past. Suppression, information warfare. But you could also see other forms of warfare. And again, and Pluto can imply matters affecting mortality rates within humanity, and also fertility rates. It will probably try to roll out more social engineering through AI, through CBDCs, central banking digital currencies. Reject it. And I will say the more they try to do this, the more humanity is going to wake up. But I do have to warn you, even though I think a lot of people will wake up, some people will struggle with it, but they'll learn and they'll adjust, difficult as it may be. There are going to be some people who would rather basically assimilate to the Borg. They'd prefer peaceful, comfortable slavery over dangerous freedom.